In accordance with the Local Government Act, Cowra Council is recording this meeting and will upload the recording to Council's website. By speaking at this meeting, you agree to being recorded and having that recording published in the public domain. Please ensure that when you speak at council meetings, you are respectful to others and use appropriate language at all times. Cowra Council accepts no liability for any defamatory or offensive remarks or gestures made during the course of this meeting. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land in which we gather, the Wiradjuri people, and pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. We have no apologies, no application for leave, absence by councillors. Does anyone have any disclosures of interest? I'll go around to Councillor Watt. Councillor West, do you have any?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Sorry, Madam Mayor. 3.1, Japanese Gardens. I'll declare a non-pecuniary interest of a minor nature, but I'll still leave the room given I'm chairman of the Japanese Garden Cultural Council Board.
Thank you, Councillor West. Councillor Watt.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to declare an interest in item 7.1 that's non-pecuniary as a close family member is involved in the application, and I will leave the room.
Councillor Wright.
Oh, right, sorry.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Everyone.
I don't think ordinary council meeting is the right term for this meeting. Every council meeting is very important. It's not an ordinary sort of thing. But anyway, I'll declare a non-pecuniary interest in 5.5, donation request to Cowra Stedford Incorporated, as my wife, partner and business associate is involved in the committee.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Councillor Downing.
I'd like to declare a non-pecuniary interest in item 5.4, which is a donation request for the Core Farmer concert, as I'm a Rotarian and they are associated with this event, so I'll leave the room.
Thank you. Councillor Smith.
I declare a non-pecuniary interest in the same item 5.4 Core Farmer donation, as I'm a member of the SACAG committee that handles the negotiations, and I will leave the room.
Thank you. Councillor Silva.
Thank you. I actually have no disclosures for the items in the meeting tonight. However, I would like to just clarify why I'm wearing a beanie and why I'm not taking it off. It is Beanie for Kenzie Day. The whole Cowra schools are behind it. We lost a beautiful young girl a couple of years back now to brain cancer, and this is a way for us to raise funds for this amazing research that is going into brain cancer, and to also remember Kenzie. Her family are still in our region and need much support as they continuing to go through this difficult time. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Kiss.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to declare a non-pecuniary interest, item 5.3 for Youth Council. My son is in the Youth Council. I will remain in the chamber though, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kiss. And none from Councillor Smith. I'm the same tonight, so there you go. So we'll get on with the business of council. So I will now, there are no presentations, but we do have two members of the public who have registered with the General Manager's Office to speak. Richard Neat and Jenny Friend, welcome. It's about the item 5.5, the donation for the 2025 Stedford, 2024 Stedford, I think that will read. And if you would like to come to the microphone, you can address us. Thank you. Is it 25? Oh yeah, next year. Okay.
I'm Richard Neat. I'm the Treasurer of the Cowra Stedford, Madam Mayor, other councillors. Thank you for the opportunity to talk. We have a fairly vested interest in utilising the Civic Centre. I've seen a schedule for this year, 2025, sorry, our next to Stedford, which will increase or more than double the price that we are paid this year for the use of these Stedfords for the same time. For the same time span, which is what we're estimating will be next year. And this year we were allocated a cap of 13,200 for our price, and I'm looking to just to give you some reassurance that we are going to be doing it next year. The price for next year, worked out would be about 27,000 instead, which is more than double. And we're looking to sort of get some surety so that we can start working right away on our budget. Previous year we made a loss. This year we adjusted our fees and our prices a little bit and made a small profit. We have good reserves which have accumulated over the last 70 years, and so I'm not pleading poverty by any means, but I am saying that a double the price of the hire of the Civic Centre would be require some pretty drastic changes to the way we operate. Other Eisteddfods are moving away from their civic centres, and we have no desire whatsoever to do that, but they are moving to more because the same process is going through with them, and we're trying to consolidate that. It's what's happened in the last 12 months, for example, has been extremely valuable. It's a much better premises, and it did a great job for us. There's no hassles whatsoever with the thing this year, and so we don't want to move. However, price might make us do that. So it's just a request to give us some consideration for a donation to lower the fees that we are paying. We're a fairly big event in this town, biggest cultural event there is. 3 weeks we have the Civic Centre going 12 hours a day, and the staff work their butts off and do a really good job. And so we're very appreciative of what we had last year as a cap on our fees, and just looking to reassure ourselves that we can go in next year and keep going like this. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you very much. No, Jenny, you're going to speak or not? Moral support. Thank you. Thank you very much, Richard. We'll move on to the confirmation of the minutes. I'll now take a motion to confirm the minutes of the ordinary council meeting held on 22nd July 2024. Somebody move, Councillor Smith and Councillor Delbo. Thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. I'll take a motion to confirm the minutes of the extraordinary council meeting held on the 12th of August 2024. Councillor Delbo, Councillor Watt. Any further questions about that? Or I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. The General Committee recommendations on page 35 of the iPad. We'll move to that. That's the donation to the Cowra Japanese Garden. So, Councillor West. Somebody would like to move that. Councillor Wright, Councillor Smith, Councillor Wright.
Yes, I support this recommendation to offer assistance to the Japanese Gardens to put on this cultural centre for their Sakura Matsuri festival held in September. This is a very good community event. It brings a lot of people to town, and it highlights the Japanese gardens and the surrounding parks and driveway and roads with the cherry tree blossoms on it, and that is a excellent advertisement for the town of Cowra and its district. And I think it's money well spent that we continue to support the Japanese Gardens in their efforts up there to maintain a first-class facility. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Councillor Smith.
Yes, I echo Councillor Wright's words on this. It is one of the showpieces of the town. It's a very pretty time in our town, and I think it's not a lot to ask for a donation for something that really puts this town on the map.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Any further comments? Right of reply, Councillor Wright.
Don't need it.
I'll put the motion then. All in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Can you, Councillor West, return? So 3.2, the General Committee recommendation 3.2 on page 35, the donation to Cowra District Senior Citizen Club. Councillor Kiss, Councillor Judy Smith. Councillor Kiss.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Look, this is just for a donation for the contribute to the sum for the water and sewer charges for our senior centre. Look, this is a facility that is so useful for a lot of our locals, provides education as well as recreational resource. Fully support this donation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Smith.
This is something that we've done for a number of years. As Councillor Kiss said, it's of great benefit to our senior cits. Looking forward to accessing its facilities, and perhaps I should have declared an interest, but I fully support it.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Any further comments? Councillor Delbo.
I fully support this request we have in front of us this evening. I do have a question for the General Manager. I'm just wondering, we provide funding to other organisations without application, and I'm aware that this organisation applies every year to us to cover these fees, these charges, and it might be because of the Section 356 terminology, but I'm just wondering if the new council may want to consider making it a line item in the budget going forward to approve these funds, and hence the Cowra Seniors Club would not have to go through this process every single year. Thank you.
That's certainly possible, and as Councillor Delbo has indicated, there's a number of organisations that a line item has been provided in the budget. I think the Woodstock swimming pool is one that springs to mind. So yes, that's something we'll take note of for next year.
Thank you. Any further discussion? I'll put the motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. The investments and financial report on page 35. I'll have some mover. Councillor Watt, Councillor Delbo. Thank you. Councillor Watt.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm very happy to move this report. As discussed in the General Committee meeting, we are seeing an average interest rate for our investments of 5.02%, which is very good comparable to the average market interest rates across the board. And it also shows the closing of loan number 252 for the water treatment plant automation. As I raised in our last meeting, there are still a number of significant loans outstanding, which I think should be a priority for Council to try and reduce. And as we know, while increased interest rates are good for Council, they aren't necessarily for our constituents, and I'm sure for many of us around the room as well. So we understand that this then does create some difficulty for our constituents, but really we can see in the investment report that we're still seeing payment of rates coming through, and encourage our community to continue to pay their rates and support Council in providing the services that we do.
Thank you, Councillor Watt. Councillor Delbo.
Yes, thank you. Through the chair, I actually just wanted to beat Councillor Paul Smith. He always moves this report, so I just wanted to get my last night and all to do that. Again, a question maybe for the new council to consider. We have the council, Cowra Council has a 10% for a limit, I suppose, for rates owing that are under arrangement for that payment. I am aware that we do have our neighbouring councils, local government areas that have a much lower rate, and at the moment it stands around $1 million that is owing to council. And again, a question through the General Manager, what steps would be required to potentially reduce that down to, say, 6%?
And Acting Director may want to comment as well, but the major reason for that is our water charges that are raised right at the end of the year, so they're sitting there at 30 June as an unpaid debt. So, and we have looked at potentially changing the dates, but in order for us to capture the 12 months of consumption, June happens to be the time frame. And as councillors would be aware, it's something that we are all aware of it. Our auditors are aware of it as well. So it's just something that we understand and explain and are prepared to accept at this point in time. Not to say we won't continue to keep working diligently to come to arrangements with ratepayers to try and minimise that as much as we can.
Thank you, Councillor Delbo. Any further discussion? Councillor West?
Just very quickly, Madam Mayor, I concur with the General Manager's comments. We've been aware for quite some time that it's the read a meeting, and the timing of the water bills going out has caused most of this problem. And it's been accepted, as the General Manager said, by auditors and by this council for many, many years. Perhaps not ideal, but nonetheless, it's something that's been happening for many, many years. And you can change things, but I think we should take that into consideration, and also that comparing outstanding rates with other councils, we need also to be aware of what charges they do and whether they're actually a council that has water connected to their business or not, or they're a county council.
Thank you, Councillor West. Any further comment? Councillor Watt?
No, thank you.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried. Now, number 3.4, the draft Cowra Community Participation Plan, which has been on public exhibition, and now we're going to adopt this. So I have a mover, Councillor Watt. Seconder, Councillor Judy Smith. Thank you, Councillor Watt. Would you like to comment?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to reiterate the conversation we had at our committee meeting, general committee meeting, this plan puts forward some changes to the way that we engage with our community around development applications to extend the neighbour notification and exhibition period to 21 days as a result
Point
of
of
postal
order,
delay.
Mr Chair. Lady Mayor, wasn't the recommendation from the committee meeting to...
No, that's 3.5, not 3.4.
3.4, we're on the draft Cowra Community Participation
sorry.
Plan.
Yeah.
They're very confusing.
No worries at all. As I was saying, the reason for extending that to 21 days, as we all know, is that post takes a lot longer these days than it used to, and particularly because of the rural base. For us, we know that it's going to make a difference in people being able to properly read the proposals that come forward and feedback in an appropriate timeline. As we've seen in the past term of council, we've received requests before for extensions to DA timelines, in part because of this. It also includes additional exemptions to the notification period where there isn't a requested variation to our existing policies for farm buildings, boundary adjustments, single-storey dwellings, single-storey alterations or additions to dwellings, and ancillary residential developments such as sheds, carports, swimming pools or fences. And the purpose of that is to reduce some of those timeframes for less significant development applications, and also hopefully reduce the cost to applicants for these less significant applications. This plan also removes the requirement for formal newspaper public notices, but we will continue to publicise it on our website, and I think that's a good move. So thank you. Hopefully people took the time to read these plans and notice the changes that are there, and I think they're all quite realistic changes to the way DAs are processed today and the way that people engage in the process. So I'd encourage my fellow councillors to also support it.
Thank you, Councillor Watt. Councillor Smith?
No, I think Councillor Watt has covered the full gamut.
Thank you. I'd just like to congratulate the Planning Department on putting it together and being such a easy read document. I think it's very easy to read. So if that's the case, anyone else want to comment? If that's the case, write a reply. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried. Now we have the review of Council's Code of Planning Practice, but we're moving to
Move.
note
I think we may have needed to put our hands up for that because it's a
the
planning issue. Yeah.
the participation plan. Everyone vote. Thank you. Unanimous. Thank you very much, Councillor Watt. Now, the review of Council's Code of Planning Practice. Note this report.
Happy to move.
Councillor West and Councillor Smith. Thank you, Judy Smith. Thank you. We'll note the report, and everyone knows why, because we're going to discuss it further down the list. I put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Development application number 1223, 17 Walker Street. So is somebody moving this? Councillor Judy Smith, Councillor Paul Smith. Councillor Judy Smith.
As discussed at the committee meeting, this is a modification of the sewer design for the subdivision, and it's an eminently sensible modification. It's a newer method, it's an easier method, it's a less costly method, and it will still deliver excellent results.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Councillor Paul Smith.
I echo Councillor Smith's comments again. This is just a win-win situation for everybody. Common sense has prevailed, and I think it's great.
Thank you. Any further comments about this? Councillor Downing.
I'd just like to say congratulations to the infrastructure team who worked with the applicant. And it is a more cost effective and better way to do his sewerage, which is always a benefit to our applicants. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Downing. Further comments? Right of reply, Councillor Smith. In that case, I'll put the motion. All those in favour and hands up. Carried. Thank you very much. Now we have section 355 committee draft minutes from Cowra Natural Resource Management Advisory Committee. I need a mover and a seconder. Councillor Wright, Councillor Downing. Thank you. Councillor Wright.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. We discussed the draft minutes at the committee meeting, and I probably gave a very verbose reply on the event that we held on the 9th of August with Lisa Blair on microplastics in the environment, from a person that sailed around the Antarctic twice and found very large volumes per megalitre of water way out in the middle of the ocean with no land in sight. And I did send, I think I forwarded it, if I know how to use the iPad after 12 years, a letter from the Corridor Project, who was organising another weekend, the following weekend, with the same speaker, and congratulated on the NRM committee and council for their donation and the way that the program went off with the primary school and high school kids, which is very good. We had just another thing on the NRM committee. We had a meeting last week, and the minutes aren't up, but we are organising the Archie Bird competition again this week, this year in October. I'll get something right by the end of the night, and we're glad to be able to get that together. And there's good support from the committee members there and our environmental planning staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Councillor Downing.
I wouldn't have said verbose. I would have said really interesting and very informative, and wish I could have been available to go.
Thank you, Councillor Downing. Any further comment? Councillor Kiss.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just briefly, I wanted to thank the NRM for being so receptive to Councillor Judy Smith's presentation about the tidy towns. I think there's just a wealth of information, and it's important that it's not lost, and I think it was best placed within the minds of our NRM committee for future reference. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kiss. Any further comments about the NRM? Right of reply, Councillor Wright. No need for a right reply. And then I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. We're on to page 44, which is the state of our city report, which is an unusual name, but Councillor Smith's going to move that, and Councillor Kiss. Thank you very much. Councillor Judy Smith and Councillor Nikki Kiss.
Thank you. I would like to congratulate Cowra on becoming a city and congratulate the next mayor on becoming a lady or Lord Mayor and the associated pay increases. That aside, this is a summary of what council has done over the 2 years and 9 months that this council has been in operation, and I think it makes very positive reading there, and I do recommend that anyone who has the time reads it. I'd just like to move it, if my seconder agrees, with one slight amendment, which is on page 49 of the iPad or page 4 of the report. And it's the second paragraph under council services. It's just a typo. It talks about the greatest distance between perceived importance and satisfaction was general litter control, which obviously is litter control, which I know council is working very hard on. But if that would be accepted, as I said, it's a really great read, and I think that council staff and councillors need to be congratulated on a lot of hard work in a short period of time.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Councillor Kiss.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A very comprehensive document that is, it's exciting to read. It's a good summary of all the things we've achieved, and I think sometimes you can go from month to month and wonder where we're headed and what we've done. To look at this, you realise that we actually have come a long way as a council, and I think that the staff are to be congratulated for obviously all the work that they've put in over the last term. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kiss. Any further comments? Councillor Downing.
I would like to say that although this is a list of all the things that we have done and we've gotten done in a very short space of time, it does excite me that it leaves room for the next council with things that still aren't done, and we have clear plans and future things that we can go along with. The satisfaction survey, most impressively, one of the key themes involved the town not having shops and attracting business, and last week or last meeting we actually passed the beginning of a CBD plan that was generated by the community for the community. So that's one thing that I'm really proud of, as well as the netball courts. So, yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Downing. Any further comment? Councillor Smith.
Yes, Mayor Fagan, I'd just like to make the comment that whilst this is the last meeting of this short-term council, I think we've got a lot to be proud of. Very little problems we had that weren't being able to sort out. But I also think whilst it's not the end of their term, it is also the staff that have to be congratulated on this, on what we've managed to achieve. Without their help, obviously it wouldn't happen. And they're not finishing their term, so life goes on, I hope. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Councillor Delbo.
Thank you very much. When we first were elected to council, it was the first time that Cowra had 6 females elected, and I remember the mood of the town was, oh my God, 6 ladies on the panel altogether. Well, I can't wait to see the day for a council to be an all-female affair, because we've had plenty of times where it's been an all-male affair. I just want to first and foremost acknowledge everybody's contribution to have such a successful plan in front of us. The staff have worked incredibly hard, and there's been major projects and plans that have been endorsed or completed, and then for all of us councillors to get our head around such detail in such a short period of time. We had some of the biggest DAs in front of us that council had seen in recent years, and then we had major infrastructure projects too. In amongst all this, of course, Cowra faced one of its biggest floods that it's had in recent times, and the amount of resources that went into that to ensure community safety and for our infrastructure to be cleaned and repaired so quickly. Our roads were shocking, but so was the Central West, and a special mention to our Director Dirk for a stellar effort of making our roads as strong as what they have been, although the conundrum on at the moment is a bit nasty, but I'll talk to you later on that. Some of the highlights that I'd like to raise was obviously the upgrade to the Cowra Civic Centre. It is an amazing facility, and for it to now be brought into a new era for hosting events, and I couldn't be prouder of that facility when we hosted the recent Eisteddfod and also the play Intertwined. It was packed at both events that I attended, and it was wonderful that it didn't matter where you sat in the stand that night, you had a fantastic seat, you could see everything on stage, and you just felt that you were on stage. It was a shame that the seats have not arrived upstairs, and we all know the reason around that, but the improvements that have been made. I attended the Hardest Line Midnight Oil, I have to get Midnight Oil in the council chamber somehow, movie and documentary, and I felt like I was at an Oils concert, so I thank council for applying for those funds. We also received an enormous grant, $2 million, under the New South Wales Public Spaces Grant, in which we've seen significant improvements to our access to the Lachlan River, art murals around the Cowra, which everybody talks about and it is always on social media. particularly the ones up in the POW camp area. And also we have village signage that is now consistent across our council area. One of the good things that did come out of the floods is we were able to do renovations at much needed renovations needed at the caravan park, and we have our first fully accessible cabin, which is wonderful for people that require that. We did some heavy lifting with the waste strategy. And I'm very happy to be a part of that and for it to go forward in the future and what that looks like as far as waste management and recycling goes. We have had $27 million during this time for works that have been done under the renewals or new works, and that's in the document that we have in front of us. And, you know, that's just one part of council's budget. And for the last time in the council chamber, I'm going to complain about the remuneration that councillors get. And if we're going to have to look after such facilities at such a high budget, then I really believe the state government need to come to the party and consider how much people are remunerated for the service that they do. One of the very exciting ones, being a bit of an environmentalist I am, is that we now have 50% of our energy under a renewable energy contract, and that was done in conjunction with Centroc. So there's other councils that are also benefiting from that, and I was so proud the day that we moved those motions. I did a quick photo count. Who's got the most photos in the end of year? Ruth, you've come out on top, I have to say, coming in at 6. What about me? I got forgotten, but that's okay. I also noted that we all looked so fresh when we first got our photo done for council. There's only one person who hasn't changed in that, Bill, and that's you in that photo. And I remember Barack Obama commenting how much he changed when he was president of the United States, and that's always given me a bit of a giggle. I would also now like just to spend a couple of minutes, if I can. I just would really like to thank 2 members of our council here this evening who are not standing for their service that they have provided to our council. There's no other part in the meeting to do it, so I'm just going to get into it here. We'll start with our former Mayor, Councillor West. Your service to Cowra has been steadfast and you have represented Cowra not only locally but significantly on the regional scale and further afield. And I must admit, I don't know all the committees that you've been on, but I am rest assured that there are many, and congratulations for that effort over such a long period of time. I've been here under 3 years, and the 3 things that stand out to me during this time has been your heavy involvement in the Cowra Hospital redevelopment, $110 million redevelopment, and how hard you fought for us to get that extra funding. So thank you so much, and I'm sure the community, once it's built, will be pleased, but they'll probably still complain about the parking. We've also had a significant project, the Cowra Drought Water Supply Security Project. It's a $10 million fully funded project. So should we ever find ourselves in the near future having access problems to water from Wangla Dam and the Lachlan River, the Cowra has a backup plan in this area that we have been able to secure a second water source requiring up to 26 kilometres of pipeline for it to reach Cowra. So congratulations for that project too. Again, it's a long-standing commitment, and when we are all gone, that will be available for the residents for Cowra to access should they need it. But I think the one that stand out for me in recent times has been the work that you have done with the Australia-Cowra-Japan relationship, and it was on display so strongly at the 80th anniversary. And I think Cowra should be really proud of the efforts that you've done in that, and I'm confident that you'll probably continue in that space. I think it would be fair to say that it's quite a passionate project for you, and congratulations on such a successful event, not just this year, but all those that have been. So thank you very much, and I'm fully aware of all the effort that Graham has placed into, the Director of Corporate Services has placed into that event too. That's enough for you, Bill, I think, for the night. Thank you very much. I'd like to move on to Judy now, if that's okay. Judy's a former mayor of quite many years, and deputy mayor for quite some years. And had you had the chance, I think you would have been stellar in that role. And I've mentioned that to you on many occasions. The things that I have had the pleasure in the chamber with you is your dedication to the youth of Cowra. You have been long-standing on that committee, and I've actually had youth members come up to me who do not know me very well at all, but have seen me at various events around the town, have said to me, "Oh my gosh, Judy is amazing. She's just the steady hand that is required in the chamber, and she has so much knowledge and expertise about local government and governance in general." And so they are really kind words, and they've loved your involvement. So thank you, Judy, for that. The biggest thing that I think, Judy, under my time here, that I've seen Councillor Judy Smith do is the Country University Centre for Cowra. To have this facility in our town is amazing. When I turned 18, I had to leave Cowra to do my university, my degree, and I didn't come back. And I didn't come back until I was in my 40s. So to be able to have this facility here to keep our young people in the town is unbelievable. And it has just gone from strength to strength since it has been established here. So bravo, Judy, for that one. And then the other one that I just wanted to point out, and we've seen it here tonight, she is a soldier. She guides, she always puts her hand up to move motions, particularly DAs. She reads them so thoroughly. And I love seconding her motions when she does that, because I don't have to do half the work. And steps in when when the rest of us are trying to find our feet. And I think that stable hand in the chamber is something that you cannot put a price on. And I've seen it time after time after time at our meetings. So thank you so much, Judy, for Councillor Smith, for such generous time that you have given us and guidance along the way. And I'll just finish with, I'm really pleased that we actually passed the activation plan last week for the CBD. Otherwise, I would have only been known for helping the Goolagong get their abolition block. So I'm really glad that it's a lot more than that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Delbert. We will have some accolades before we go into confidential minutes before we close the meeting. So in case anyone else wants to put their hand up and talk about councillors, we can wait, if that's okay, till we close at the end of the meeting. Councillor Wright.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just getting back to the State of the City report.
Yes,
This is a document referring to the last 3 years or 2 years, 9 months. But the key directions that are listed here, and the 8 directions, or the 3 or 4, the 4 ones, the social, environment, economic and civic leadership objectives. Yes, us councillors put a plan together and it's adopted, and as Councillor Paul Smith said, our staff then have to follow our directions and what directions they can find from other local government or industry things to help implement our plans. But significantly, a lot of these plans have grown from previous councils, and every council that's out there on the wall and that have had these same key directions in all their decisions they've made for the well-being of Cowra. And the difference is now, or the last 3 or 4 years, we have this reporting mechanism where they gather all the statistics and everything, and they print a report that looks very glowing if we've done the right things. It'd probably be in smaller print if it wasn't the best, but and that's what all of our decisions that we make now are scrutinised more than ever. However, the outcomes might be better or just as good as our previous predecessors, and I thank our predecessors for starting a good plan within Cowra to for the future. And we have education there. We've had the St Raphael's extension done, so the Catholic diocese must have thought there's a benefit to have it here. We've had the Met School developed, and back in 68 to 69, the new high school was built largely to accommodate the Wangla workers on the new dam wall. There was 2 busloads of students used to come in from Wangla then, but we've had that structure there to build this on, and that's enough for me. But it's not just one council that's going to make the town; it's everyone thinking of going forward.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Is there any further comment? Councillor Smith, right of reply.
I'll briefly indulge myself by thanking Councillor Delbo for her comments about Councillor West and myself. I concur with what she said about Councillor West. I think I was given credit for things that I was only a small part of. The only quibble that I have with Councillor Delbo's comment about 6 female councillors or 6 lady councillors is that while I certainly claim to be female, I've never claimed to be a lady. I do remember my first term on council 16 years ago. 1 woman, 6 men. I thought the odds were fair.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. With that, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Now we get on to the next generation, the delivery program for 22-23 to 25-26, an operational plan 6 months review.
Happy to move.
Councillor West and Councillor Smith. Thank you, Councillor West.
Madam Mayor, probably not much needs to be said. A lot of it has been said in the last matter. So I think we should be prepared to acknowledge that this is a good reflection on the work that's been undertaken in the final 6 months of the last financial year, and the work that was undertaken and the achievements of the council during that particular time, and also acknowledging some of those areas where, for various reasons, we may have fallen slightly short of what we had hoped to achieve. And I take the note of, firstly, Councillor Delbo, thank you for your comments, and I take the note of Councillor Peter Wright's comments in regards that no council works in isolation, that we're all building something for our community, and I'd hope that the previous councils passed the baton to this council, and I hope this council passes the baton to the next council in good stead and in good humour and good grace. I commend this recommendation to you.
Thank you, Councillor West. Councillor Judy Smith.
As Councillor West said, a lot of this has been already discussed and can be read in the State of the City report. There's more detail, and obviously it refers to the last 6 months. Certainly, as Councillor West alluded to, we have some projects that we haven't been able to get onto as we had wished, and they have been carried over until the next financial year, and I'm sure that they will be done then. That's all I would say.
Thank you, Councillor. Any further comment? Right of reply, Councillor West.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Only briefly just to acknowledge this one and the matter we'll discuss in 5.1, and also the previous motion, we should also reflect on the work of our senior staff, general manager, senior staff, in getting these projects completed and having the reporting presented to us in such an appropriate and orderly manner.
Thank you, Councillor West. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Now we have 4.3 on page 133, Acting General Manager.
So moved.
Councillor West, Councillor Delbo, Councillor West.
I think it doesn't require a lot of conversation in this place, Madam Mayor. It's an appropriate recommendation. I think we should fully support it and move forward with understanding of the situation, but I think it doesn't need any great detail or enlarging on anything in the debate.
Thank you, Councillor West. Councillor Delbo. In any further comment, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Appointment of delegates, and that's on page 134, and this is due to the fact that we run out of steam and we need we need some people to continue in the roles that they already have. So somebody move that. Councillor Kiss, Councillor Delbo, thank you. Councillor Kiss.
Just briefly, yeah, I reckon. It's a prudent recommendation. There are things that need to continue on while the rest of us are having a break. No, it's important role. So thank you for remaining in those roles while it's needed.
So yeah. So this is the, I've just explained, Councillor Judy Smith, Councillor Erin Watt will be still remain Cowra Tourism Corporation delegates, and Councillor Bill West will remain the Cowra Japanese Garden and Cultural Centre delegate until their further notification, until we decide on the new delegates. Councillor Delver,
Yes, thank you. The report explains the situation around why this recommendation is required, and I believe it is good governance and planning. Thank you.
thank you, Councillor Delver. I'll put the right of reply. Councillor Smith.
Can I ask a question, if you don't mind, Mayor Fagan? There will be a meeting of the Showground Trust during this time, and as the council delegate to that, I just need advice on whether I attend or do I not attend.
We forgot about that.
I think it's early October, I think.
First weekend. Actually,
My advice would be to wait until the mayoral election, which will be held in September, and then have that conversation with the mayor at that time.
Might be one first week in September.
If you don't mind, we continue to serve as councillors until the 14th of September. We continue as councillors until the 14th of September. So if your meeting is before then, you can still be a council delegate.
and it will be. It'll be before then. Yeah, that's right. Thank you. No, no. That will be fine. Thank you. Any further comment or right of reply? Not needed. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Thank you. Carried. Now, number 4.5, which is on page 135, I will move that with a change to the date in the first meeting in September. I'll change that to September 23rd. I need a seconder for that. Councillor Kiss, thank you. The reason for changing the date is that this will be the first meeting of the next council, as we've all been appointed councillors, and Councillor Smith and myself will be away on the September the 30th. Councillor Smith will be overseas and he will be able to dial in hopefully on the 23rd. Otherwise, there'll be only 6 councillors in the room and that could be difficult. So this will be the mayor election for mayor at that meeting and 7 councillors in the room and 1 dialing in is a little bit more logistically possible. So that's why I've actually just, moved that we change the date. So any further comment?
I'd like to speak against it.
Councillor Kiss.
Oh, sorry.
No, I'd considered that also to be a prudent move. I have, spoken with Councillor Smith and he believes he'll be able to dial in and the more we can have there, the better.
Thank you, Councillor Kiss. Councillor Downing.
To speak against it, just to say that this date's been recommended by the General Manager. His reasoning is clearly explained and I support his planning decision. With respect to the 2 new councillors who will be in the room, they need time to acquaint themselves with the remaining councillors and do that planning stuff that the actual General Manager has said will happen. So that plan also accounts for that as well. The only reason I can see for this change of date is that you won't be in the room, Ruth. You're happy for Councillor Smith to Zoom in, but you're not happy to do the same. So I would actually say that in your councillor affirmation, you said that you would impartially carry out functions, powers and authorities and with discretion. I'm not sure this is impartial. So I will vote against it.
Thank you, Councillor Downing. Councillor Watt, right.
I'd like to move an amendment that the meeting be moved back to the 30th.
Be point of order, Madam Mayor. I think that's a motion amendment totally contrary. I think the way forward would be to foreshadow a motion that you would move it back to the 30th and speak against the motion and then move the motion to go to the 30th.
So, Councillor Wright, if you'd like to foreshadow a motion and speak against this one, there is.
the original motion's not on the books. It's that you've changed your amendment is now the motion.
That's right.
So
But
it doesn't
you
got
can
to
speak
be.
against the motion if you'd like
Yeah,
to.
well, I'll speak against it then. This is we're going to be declared on the 14th of September due to not having to have an election, and we're only going to have a fortnight to get everyone up to speed on the six of us, I suppose, should be up to speed reasonably well, but the other two should be given a reasonable amount of time to get to know who the councillors are and what their responsibilities are, to have their inductions, and to only have it 7 days after it's declared, I think is quite rude, and for the reason is that two people are going overseas. They've made a personal decision not to be here when they knew there could be an election on if they got back on council, and it's not fair to everyone. We're not having an election, so we haven't got any media things of what the two new people have got to offer, who they are, and they haven't actually. Well, they're here tonight. I think I'll see how we're performing and who does what and that. But we've had no time for. There was mention of a meet and greet. Now, if all that's going to happen with the induction, and it's all going to happen within 7 days, I don't think that's fair or a true act of democracy. And so I'll leave it at that, and I urge everyone else to vote against this recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Councillor Smith.
I'll start with a question. My understanding was that the result of the election had already been officially declared. Is that the case?
Declared elected as at the 14th of September.
Right, yes. Okay, yeah. Okay. So I will speak for the motion. I would imagine, I don't know, that the people who had planned holidays, the two councillors, did so imagining that council would be in limbo at that time because votes would still be being counted. Because that has changed after their plans were finalised, I think it's a bit unfair to make veiled accusations of personal interest. I would imagine, and I do know that the two new councillors have done some homework about the council and what's required, and I have every faith in the General Manager and the senior staff to be working solidly with them in the lead up to the 23rd.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Councillor Smith.
If I could, Mayor Fagan, I'd like to clarify exactly where I stand and why I won't be here. I sat down with the dates of the election. It never ever occurred to me that there would not be an election. I assumed we would have people that were interested in standing more than we had. It never occurred to me. I have planned to leave Cowra the day after the election, and I had planned to be back 3 days before the first council meeting. And I've never been to Europe. I planned to travel when COVID hit. That didn't happen. I had a 3-week opportunity, so I've booked a trip to Europe. Now, I apologise to the councillors that I won't be here. It was not deliberate. It was not, I didn't take it lightly because I did intend to be back for the first council meeting. It makes very little difference to me whether it's the 23rd or the 30th, as I won't be here for either. But again, I would state it wasn't deliberate, it wasn't contemptuous, it was a fact that I thought I was doing the right thing. We planned it meticulously on the dates available, and that's where I stand.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Councillor Bill West.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm happy to support the 23rd, but I won't be in the chamber, so it's probably not going to really influence me one way or the other in terms of dates. But I would make a couple of comments, if I may, and this is a decision for the council. The General Manager's report clearly says the 23rd or 30th can work, so his report didn't say the 30th, it indicated the 23rd will also work. And I take Councillor Smith's comments to being, I think Councillor Judy Smith's comments to be exactly spot on. This is an incredibly unusual scenario. We would assume under all logic that there would not be a final determination of the poll or declaring of the poll until at least 2 weeks after the election, which is the normal procedure. It made perfect sense. It's logical that people who were looking to be re-elected or elected and were going to be away for a few days, that was the time to make plans. And I think there should be nothing considered other than it was a smart move to actually look to have that as your break. Any suggestion outside of that to me is being totally unfair. But as I say, I'm not sitting in the chamber on that date, but I see no reason why the 23rd won't work. And the more councillors in the room, then the better the decision should be, and the more people will be in a situation to actually discuss any comments they would want to pass around. So I'd support 23rd.
Thank you. Councillor Watt.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm speaking against the motion, I guess, coming from a slightly different position than the others. My reading of the General Manager's report is in the second last paragraph that says that he has recommended that the meeting to elect the Mayor and Deputy Mayor be held on Monday, 30th of September. And I would like to support that recommendation of the General Manager. And the reason for my support of that is, as we've just dealt with in the previous motion, our General Manager will be absent for the next 2 months, and we will have two of our directors stepping up into those roles while still holding their own roles. And there will be a lot of pressure on our staff over the next couple of months. And I believe that if this was the recommendation of the General Manager who is making those decisions about staff management, I think that's the right thing to do. As we know, we have an acting Director of Corporate Services and we will have an acting General Manager at the time. And I believe the General Manager has made this recommendation in genuine reflection of the capacity at the time. Also in reflection of myself joining as a new councillor, even though I did have a decade of experience in all levels of government, it's still an adjustment for our new councillors, and I think we owe them that opportunity to have the time to acquaint themselves with the systems and the structures before they get thrown in to council. As we know, the election is declared but only becomes effective on the 14th of September. So our two new councillors don't have the access that current councillors have to that information until realistically until the 16th of September. And so I think it's reasonable that we give them that time and respect that the role, there are clear definitions in the legislation around the role of the council and the role of the council staff, and one of those clear delineations is that the General Manager is in charge of staff resources and determining that, and so I would like to follow his recommendation here.
Thank you, Councillor Watt. Councillor Delbo.
I can see where the votes are going on this, but I will speak. I actually will be speaking against the motion. I fully support the comments that Councillor Watt has said tonight and has added to tonight's debate around supporting our General Manager in his decision, but also the staff resources that are required at this time. Local government can be quite complex, as we around the table have learnt, and I too believe that sufficient time is required for our newest councillors to get their heads around the complexity of council, and in particular the election process. If I was to rewind the clock back, I can remember feeling like a deer in headlights when that was happening. It can be quite a rough process that you may experience when people are vying for your vote to be either mayor or deputy mayor. I would like to just say that it wasn't that long ago that we all lived through COVID and everything went online, and hence the technology in this space has increased tenfold and is available for all of us to use. It has never been so easy to jump online to be part of a meeting. It may slow the process down a little bit, but there's nothing wrong with that. Through a show of hands, we can still achieve the objectives of the agenda of the meeting. Last year, I went to Malaysia in September, and I dialed in from Malaysia for the the mayor and the deputy mayor election. It can be done. I proved that it can be done. There was no issues. The council staff made sure that I had everything set up ready to go 24 hours before the actual meeting time, and I experienced no problems. I hear that where both of you are travelling have pretty outstanding access to the internet, and that the time differences between both those locations are within working hours. It's not like you'll be getting up in the middle of the night to sit a meeting here at 5 o'clock. So I think it's important that it can be done. There should be no reason why people think that it cannot be done. It can be done. We have the technology to do it. We have the staff resources that can do it if we keep it to the 30th of September. And I think, although I won't be in the room, I know what it feels like to be a new council and to have those extra days to get your head around the complexities of what's coming at you like a freight train. Even with my many years of experience in local council, this is different. This is a different setting. It's a different level of pressure. And, you know, the code of conduct is a pretty significant folder that you will get. And I support keeping it at the 30th. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Delbo. Everyone's had a comment. I'd just like to write a reply if that's, no one else wants to comment. We've had that. Write a reply. I'm happy to dial in on the 30th if that's the decision you make, but I would say it would be easier to have it if more people are in the room. I do believe that that there's no conspiracy theory about this. It's just it would make it easier for staff if we don't have two people dialing in. The ballot papers have to be distributed, all sorts of things. There is a bit of a reason for having more people in the room, and we only have 8 councillors at that meeting. The only agenda item on that meeting would be the election of mayor and deputy mayor and the signing in or the induction of the new councillors. So it's not a complicated meeting. I'm sure that the new councillors would be able to decide at that stage how they would manage, and then they have 4 weeks before the real council meeting happens, so there's plenty of time for them to be inducted. So with that, that's 4 weeks till they have the real meeting. So this is only the mayoral meeting on the 23rd or 30th, and then there's another couple of weeks before we actually, from the date of the meeting, before it actually happens on the 14th of October. So there's plenty of time for new councillors to be inducted and to find out what's going on. So with that, I'm going to put the motion that we change the date to the 23rd and adopt the other meeting dates. So all in favour, I think we'll have to show of hands if we could. So all in favour of changing the date, and so all against? It's lost. There's 9 of it. There's 9 of it.
Abstaining, vote against the motion.
You voted against the motion. Okay. It's lost then. It's lost.
Yeah,
It's lost. So
so
the
for the-
motion is lost. Now you council.
Just for the information of councillors, abstaining from the vote is taken to be a vote against the motion.
Yes. So Councillor Wright.
Yeah, I move that the first council meeting for the election of mayor and deputy mayor be held on the 30th of September, Monday at 5 o'clock.
Thank you, Councillor Downing. And all the meeting dates remain. Oh, what you're moving is
And
actually,
the other meeting dates remain.
what you're moving is the original motion.
Yeah.
Okay, Councillor Downing. Councillor Wright, you want to speak to that?
I think everything's been said. It was the general manager's preferred date, and I think we need to work with the general manager with what he thinks is a good way to operate the process, and leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Downing.
I'd just like to reiterate what Councillor Watt said, which reads either the 23rd or the 30th of September would be feasible. However, in the interest of ensuring sufficient time for councillors to consider these matters, I've recommended that the meeting to elect the Mayor and Deputy Mayor be held on the 30th of September. So that is what the General Manager has advised, and that's what we should stick to.
Thank you. I'll put the motion. Anyone else want to comment? Councillor Smith.
Yes, again, I've got to explain to the council, I suppose, that I didn't vote because it didn't make any difference to me. I didn't realise that if I didn't vote, it was one against. So I apologise to the council for not knowing that.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. So we're on to page 140, and that is the Audit and Risk Committee. Somebody move that. We've got another one for that. Budget review.
Move.
Thank you, Councillor West. Councillor Smith. Thank you. Councillor West, do you want to comment?
I think it's an important reflection upon the activities, the financial activities of the previous financial year. Indication that there has been, as we have noted, that there has been some very sound and prudent financial management this council for many, many years, and it has continued through councillors, I think, determination and commitment, but also to the very hard work and diligence of our General Manager and senior staff to ensure that council's financial position remains sound and solid, and we have a very good future, unlike a lot of other local government areas who I won't attempt to name. I just think that we always make this observation that there appears to be a significant surplus. Just want to make sure the community is fully aware, if they read that as a headline, that these are financial accounting figures. It doesn't mean that council's squirreling away a great wad of money every year for just to see a bank balance grow. We are, I guess, to some extent, we wouldn't use the word cash strapped, but we're always seeking to make ends meet, and this figure could be somewhat confusing or give cause to a false impression. So I need to ensure that the community understands that whilst it's healthy, it is not a matter of council just scribbling away money and for no particular purpose. And a lot of reserves are in some form committed.
Thank you, Councillor West. Councillor Judy Smith.
I agree entirely in terms of council staff and their prudent financial management. I know very often when we're talking about something we'd like to see happening in the next financial year, the question is, well, what would you not like to see happening then? We don't have a lot of fat to play with, despite the fact that we do have surplus of over $11 million, as Councillor West intimated. Most of that is already committed, and it includes quite a bit of grant funding that, for various good and sufficient reasons, including working flat out on getting roads up to speed, so to speak, over the last few years, has had to be carried over to the next financial year.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Any further comment? Councillor Watt.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just briefly, would definitely agree with my colleagues that a lot of this situation is due to, some financial magic, not my financial magic, but, some of it being put away for the next year. But I think it's also important to note there has been quite a bit of change in this period because of such a drastic increase to our roads funding, which has meant that a lot of our maintenance work has been more directly funded, which is not something that's necessarily happened before. As noted, we have had some significant grant funding, including around our pool. Interest rates have increased quite drastically over this period, and that has increased in money coming in to our account. And we have also, while not as significant in the budget bottom line, but I think important to notice, had a fairly significant increase in our waste projections as a result of the MRF being capable of taking quite significant amounts of waste from projects such as the Cowra Hospital. And I think it's a really good sign that we should continue to invest in that space, because it does provide us both a profit generation, well, many things, a profit generation for the community, meaning that we know that local waste is being dealt with properly, and something that our surrounding communities can lean upon there as well. As I'm sure everyone who runs a business or runs their own financials does, when we look at things like water and sewer, we are probably somewhat pessimistic in what we expect to come in terms of our income. And so you'd want to be seeing at the end of the budget period that there is a surplus as opposed to what we expected in that space. And we can see that here. I think it's important that we definitely take on board what Councillor West mentioned, that a lot of this surplus is probably already spent or already allocated, but that the future council considers how we best manage any surpluses that we do have at the end of that. And I would certainly advocate that we put it towards reduction of our ongoing debts, which often cost us a lot more than we intended in the beginning.
Thank you, Councillor Watt. Any further comments? Right of reply, Councillor West? Thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Now, the quarterly, the ARIC committee. So, Councillor Paul Smith and Councillor Nikki Kiss. Councillor Smith.
Yes, Mayor Fagan, this the I'd like to move that the minutes of the ARIC committee as our final meeting of this particular council term be accepted. I think the key things in the minutes are the government auditors are quite happy with council. Their auditor, Mr. Gabriel Fabioni, he's very happy with the state of Cowra's council. We have a couple of little issues. One, the phones, which we discussed last week, and two, our IT is always at risk, mainly because the baddies are trying a lot harder than the goodies, and we are forever chasing our tail with IT security. But apart from that, it's very straightforward, and I think we should be very happy with the outcome of the ARIC. I would also note that this is the last ARIC of this format, and it will now go to 4 times a year with an extra independent auditor, Mr. Shannon Buckley, who zoomed in this time. Seemed like a nice bloke. We'll meet him hopefully, or the ARIC committee will meet him at the next meeting in November. We also discussed the fees, and I think everybody was happy with that. So, yeah, I think as the final one for this term, I think we should be pretty pleased with it.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Councillor Nick Kiss.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would just like to add that I was fortunate to have the opportunity to attend the last meeting and to remind all of our councillors that they are very welcome to attend the meetings. I think they're important. They are very dry, as been previously mentioned, but I think it is important for us to understand our base level of accountability and where these sorts of risks are coming from and what is being considered. There was one message that I took, given me some food for thought, came from Chair Mr. Gillard, where he mentions in there that if councillors have reasonable concerns about risk and improvement, it can be reported to the committee to look at through a council resolution. I think this is something we might need to be mindful of in the future if we do have concerns, just to remember that we can actually take things to the ARIC if we have concerns. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kiss. Any further comment? Councillor Watt.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. While overall I see the ARIC committee we've had standing achieve a great number of things, I was very disappointed to see in this final report for the financial year that there's been significant deferrals in internal reviews. As most of you know, outside this chamber, my job is in large part about risk and safety management. Both through my training in this and my experience, I know that it's essential to prioritise audits of processes in areas that we know that we are struggling. The fact is that identified priority audits have already been delayed due to capacity is a huge red flag and a concern for me. This is when we should be prioritising audits, because we know that there is not currently enough resources. We know that there are challenges happening that are resulting in the outcomes that aren't ideal. The conduct of these audits for areas like DA processes and records management generally identify pain points and ways to improve efficiencies. In areas like chemical handling and processing audits being delayed, is a serious safety issue and I don't think is appropriate management, and is something I'll be raising as a new councillor in the new term.
Thank you, Councillor Watt. I'd like to comment on the report from the Chairman, Councillor Gillard. I thought it was an excellent report and explained a lot of things to me that I was very interesting, and I think that it's probably something that we can take forward with a bit of confidence, and that he has kept an eye on our audit and risk compliances, and I'm confident that the ARIC committee has achieved a lot in the last 12 months. Councillor Smith, would you like a reply? Oh, Councillor Delvo, sorry.
Thank you. I probably don't share the optimism as much as Councillor Paul Smith does in this area. But before I start talking, I just want to clarify. I know there's been changes to ARIC. At present, there are how many voting members? 3?
3 independent voting members.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much. I've spoken quite passionately about ARIC. It is by far the most important committee that council has, and I can understand why councillors are now making themselves available to attend these meetings. However, if you're not available on a Thursday at 10 o'clock, you don't get to attend, and I think going forward that is going to be an issue for those councillors that have full-time jobs like myself. What I have noted in the meeting minutes is that a lot of it is verbal updates, and they're not documented in the meeting minutes. So, as a councillor who is the governing body that is responsible for ARIC, I don't know what's being said, and that is something that has not sit well with me as a councillor to not be fully informed on things. I have concerns over the declaration of interest where there is talk about where is it? Sorry, one moment. Consensus bias or basis, sorry, consensus basis, where this is what's written. I'm going to read out what's written and then I'm going to talk about it. So prior to confirming the minutes of the last meeting, the Chair proposed that in line with moving forward with the revised voting requirements under the new terms of reference, the voting members of the committee would now make its recommendation to Council on a consensus basis, taking into consideration the contributions raised by all attendees at the meeting. The proposal was accepted by voting members and supported by the committee as a whole. So my understanding in that is that although there's 3 people that are voting, and this is an audit committee, they are influenced by the conversation that is happening in the room. If I'm incorrect, I'd like to know that I'm incorrect. In Council's own expression of interest form that our independent members of ARIC applied for just recently, it clearly states that the ARIC provides information to Council for the purpose of improving Council's performance on its functions and provides an advisory role only. It performs its performance is in the role of monitoring, reviewing, endorsing and advising Council on matters set out by the terms of reference. There is a big section in the expression of all, interest also on about independent requirements. And again, it states that the internal members are to be independent to ensure they have no got my notes here, no read or perceived bias or conflicts of interest that may interfere with their ability to act independently in providing Council with robust, objective and unbiased advice. I have concerns that they have agreed to have a consensus basis when they are to be independent, providing robust advice to Council, and this is their job. Their job is to audit what we do and to provide advice back to us where we as council make a decision whether we take their advice or not. It seems that that process is happening in the room before it gets here into council, and that does not sit well with me at all. The other part that I had in this meeting, in these meeting minutes, is the risk register. If you look at the risk register, which I had to jump out of this document and into the meeting minutes of the previous meeting where the risk register is, there are things listed there, but I do not believe that it actually covers the complexity of council and all the things that we have to look after for council. And one of the examples that they gave in their items, give me one moment, is when they speak about the recycling. And obviously that has come about by the motion that I put into the chamber. The motion in regards to what we did with our recycling for a period of 18 months. And there's a 4-part recommendation there. I went into the risk register to see where is the MRF listed, and it's not. We have listed in there the low-level bridge, and for it not being able to be used for a significant time, that is a high risk, and we have seen the impacts in our town in recent in 2022 as far as when the low level is closed for long periods of time and what it does to traffic. So that's listed there. We also have the operation of council's pound facility listed in there. So total or partial loss of this facility and what would take place should that facility close. I wanted to know, where is the MRF? That is an enormous infrastructure that we have. And I thought maybe it's under loss of facilities, maybe it's under system failure, but that's all IT, maybe it's under major disasters. I cannot find it in there. And I think that it needs to be in there along with other assets that council has that is not included. For example, our cemetery. What happens when all the spaces in our current cemetery are used? Where do we go next? So there's a 4-part recommendation here, and I'm sorry those in the chamber can't see it. But the first part is that the Director of Infrastructure will provide a copy of the report presented to Council at the Audit and Risk and Improvement Committee out of session. The second part then thanks him for doing that, so he's obviously done that. The third part is that it be noted that the Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee is reasonably satisfied that the matter does not require further attention. Now, the matter is recycling material. From the committee, given today's discussion and the resolution of Cowra Shire Council on this matter. The fourth part is that the Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee would like to reiterate to councillors that the committee operates under, and this is what Councillor Nikki Kiss has said tonight, under and are accountable to the governing body, which is council, us around the table, and that any reasonable concerns that councillors may have can also be referred to the committee for assessment via council resolution. So that means whoever's sitting around this table has to agree for it to go before it goes into the, to be considered in ARIC. I would encourage the new council, strongly encourage the new council to look at that risk register and make sure that it includes facilities such as the MRF, because we all sat in this room and said, oh, we hope it doesn't happen again, that, the recyclables are put straight into landfill. I bet it has happened since we've had that conversation. I bet it's happened, since the time frame of what we were looking at that in that notice of motion. So I think it's very important that this risk management, this risk register is fully up to date with all the with all the infrastructure that council has, whether it's a quarry, whether it's the MRF, whether it's the cemetery, whether it's a depot. They're all things that are not included in this risk register, and I have grave concerns. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Delbo. Any further comment? Councillor Down.
Questions as well. One was around the recycling. What does reasonably satisfied mean? Why were they reasonably satisfied?
The questions to me, I think.
Yeah, well, you were there. So yeah.
It certainly was. ARIC's concern around the recycling issue with council was the legal ramifications, and the chairman sought clarity as to exactly what had happened, and we explained that to him. And I explained to him that we had taken legal advice that there was no legal repercussions by not offering a refund for the thing. And that was the risk to, as far as Eric was concerned, was the risk was the legal ramifications. Once that had been squashed, he thought that was reasonable.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Councillor Downing, yes.
Yes, so back to Councillor Delbo Singer's why the Murph is not in the actual risk register, if that is actually a risk, and it's not just a legal risk, it's a risk of actually the functionality of the actual Murph.
I think, and it's only what I think because it wasn't put in that context, that anything that goes to the Murph either leaves as a recyclable or it goes in the cell. So I don't see where the risk is. If there's not a legal risk, it'd be a financial risk. And in our time, as we didn't recycle some of the recyclables, there was a monetary risk, but there was no risk to the community or risk to council, just that we got less income because we didn't handle the
Okay.
recyclables.
Thank you, Councillor Smith.
I also have a question about the annual report into council's policies, which is on page 146. The second dot point says that the acting director of corporate services will compile that list, and that will go to an ARIC meeting, I presume, in the future. So I've asked this before, but I think it would be quite timely if we're having new councillors in the room that every councillor be provided with a list of those policies so we can follow when they're to be reviewed and what actual policies the council have. We've been told on many occasions that they're there, we can find them if we want to, we can ask, but if you don't know what to actually ask for and what you're looking for, then you're never going to find them. So if you are compiling a list of those and their review dates, I think that would be very valuable information for every councillor around the room. Not just the new ones, existing ones as well. Then I also had just a query about Councillor Kiss attending. The way it was put in the minutes was she was invited. So that's what it says. Councillor Kiss was invited, and she's also going to receive other documents that the non-voting members are. So I'd request that we receive those documents as well.
Thank you, Councillor Downing. Councillor West, did you want to comment?
Yeah, Madam Mayor, number of comments that I could make, probably to just a little bit of light on the commentary around why the ARIC was interested in the recycling matter was that there were comments made in the chamber, in public, about the performance of the ARIC committee, or the ARIC, and the ARIC were not aware of it, so the chairman asked to be made aware of what those issues were and how that all unfolded because of the comments made in the public arena, and appropriately so. Secondly, I would strongly defend the integrity of the independent members of the ARIC. They are highly qualified, reputable people. To act in a manner which is by consensus basis is not unusual, not unheard of. The fact that the chair and the ARIC committee are quite happy to have some commentary from others in the room is a moot point because given their strength of character and their independence, they will still make up the mind that they as the responsible body will make up and report to council. As that fourth dot point in that issue you're talking about, the recycling, clearly it says that the ARIC committee is clearly saying that council has the capacity to provide the ARIC with advice or requests to investigate certain matters. And I'm sure that that would be something that they will do and do appropriately and properly. So I think any commentary around the capacity or integrity of the ARIC is something we need to be very cautious of and very mindful of. And I would be confident that the chair of ARIC would be quite happy to come in and talk to a new council and to address these issues or concerns and put any of these matters to bed or answer any questions where there are concerns. And that's what I'll be strongly recommending to a new council that they do. Bear in mind the ARIC, of course, is set up by the responsibility bestowed upon council by the state government. So we really have to work with the ARIC committee. I think we have a good ARIC committee. In terms of some of the issues around policies and so forth, there are a lot of them. in terms of some of the issues that have been slippage. Of course, we raise them at a council level and ask questions about them. There's no reason why we, as a council, we shouldn't. But I think we need to be respectful of the ARIC themselves and the work that they do and the advice that they provide council, and will continue to provide council in an appropriate way. And I'd reiterate that the new gentleman I haven't really met, but his qualifications are quite more than solid. The two gentlemen who are on the ARIC committee, I think, are the highest calibre, and I would strongly be supporting them. This is a new world. We have to move forward with it, and I think we need to be supporting them and working with them. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor West. Councillor Smith.
I'll just add, in terms of Councillor Kiss attending the ARIC meeting, my understanding is that all councillors and any councillors are able to attend any such meetings and all Section 355 committee meetings at any stage as interested non-voting members.
Thank you, Councillor Smith.
Yeah, considering their draft minutes, then we need to update it, because it actually says that the chair also thanked Councillor Nikki Kiss for taking up the invitation to attend the Audit and Risk Improvement Committee meeting. So that's an invitation.
I don't think we can change. Point where we can't change the draft minutes of somebody else's. It's been said at council. And secondly, my clear memory, recollection is that the chairman here declared an open invitation to all of us to attend.
So, okay, we're up to any further comments. Councillor Wright.
Yeah, I think Councillor West spoke about what I was speaking about. I'm trying to put it a bit more simpler, that the independent people, and I was part of the ARIC committee originally, and I can see this, if used properly, it's got a lot of benefit to council's operations. If the three independent members met by themselves with their agenda in front of them, where are they going to get the information from to answer the questions? And that's what they got the one council representative there to pass on information, but they hasn't got a vote. They got access to the directors to answer questions, and that's all the discussion. You can say it's discussion, but to infer that it's going to be used to give a different outcome is, I think it's a little bit worrying, because the experience I've had with the independent members when I was on there, that they can sort the wheat from the chaff, and we take the word of our directors when they're putting reports to us, and we decide whether to accept it or not accept it, and that's what they're doing. And I think the independent integrity of the committee is not a concern, as long as the information given to them does cover the relevant inquiries. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Any further comment? Right of reply, Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Mayor Fagan. A couple of things I'd like to bring up. First, some of the councils had a problem with consensus. Because the process has changed, and as the council nominated person on the ARIC, I had a vote. I no longer have a vote. The chairman, when we asked how we were going to, are we allowed to comment? We're not allowed to vote, are we allowed to comment? He said, yes, I would appreciate your comments, what you've got. And he said, I think as we're not going, you don't have a vote, I think we should take a consensus of what people in the meeting feel. And I had no problem with that. I thought that worked particularly well. It was just another way of deciding whether everybody agreed or not, without putting your hand up. And as for the invitation, the chairman thanked Councillor Kiss for accepting his invitation, and he stated that he had invited every councillor to attend, and he was pleased if any of them showed enough interest to turn up. And that was his words. I'd just like to finish with two things. One, I have no doubt about the integrity of the independent members. We have one new one who lives in Melbourne. He's on a lot of ARIC committees. The other two that carry over independence, their integrity is beyond reproach. And I'd just like to finish with when the chair took the opportunity to close the meeting, he thanked Councillor Bill West for his many years of service with the Cowra Shire Council, in particular the Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee. The chair commented that the committee has greatly benefited from Councillor West's knowledge and suggestions and wished him the best in his retirement. And I fully concur with that. That's exactly how we all feel.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? Carried. Thank you. Now we're on to page 163, the Section 355 Committee draft minutes for Cowra Youth Council. Councillor Watt and Councillor Smith. Thank you. Councillor Watt?
Yes, I'd like to move a slightly amended motion that Councillor Judy Smith might not support. I'd like to add a second point to read that Councillor gives their heartfelt thanks to Councillor Judy Smith for her role in the establishment of the Cowra Youth Council in 2011 and ongoing role as the council delegate for the past 13 years.
If Councillor Smith is...
Would you like someone else to
if
second it, Judy?
If Councillor Smith is uncomfortable, I'm happy to second it, Madam Mayor.
Councillor West going to second it. Thank you very much, Councillor West. Councillor Watt?
Thank you. Firstly, just on the draft minutes that are put forward, as always, the minutes that come here from the Cowra Youth Council show a huge amount of work that the young people of Cowra who've stood up to this role take on. To summarise just a few, but this covers the huge amount of work in planning and participating in the 80th breakout anniversary, preparations for the World Peace Day Youth Forum, which is coming up in a couple of months, and the Mental Health Month, and the many activities the group do around that. They're a fantastic group of young people that it's a real pleasure to be part of. I'm just going to be brief in this because I was getting a bit emotional writing it, but as you probably all know, I've known Councillor Judy Smith my whole life. Councillor Smith was my English teacher in later years of school, a very good family friend, and some even blame her for my politics. Over the past 13 years, so many young people have been given an opportunity to step up, develop and be heard, and Judy, you've had a huge role in that. Around the community, you can see successful young people whose involvement in Youth Council has been such a formative time of who they are. And while Youth Council was not around in my time, I count you in forming who I am as well, and just want to pass on my immense thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Watt. Councillor West?
Oh, I thought, yeah. Obviously, I'm delighted to be able to second Councillor Watt's motion. Firstly, to acknowledge the Youth Council minutes and the work that they do in our community, and to acknowledge the councillors and also Linda Barron, the staff member who has worked tirelessly over a long period of time, as long as Councillor Smith. And I'm really delighted to be able to second your motion in paying respect to my colleague and good friend, Councillor Smith, who has been a driver of the Youth Council, among other things, and she deserves the credit for the success of the Youth Council. A lot of wonderful young people that go through, and it's one of the highlights of Council that we're able to actually provide an opportunity for young people who are future leaders to go forward in life and in the world, whether they stay in Cowra or not, is a moot point. We're turning good young people into great young ambassadors and great young adults. So for that, Judy, your time and effort, energy is well appreciated in this particular, and I'll talk more about you later, but in this particular field, well done.
Thank you, Councillor West. Any further comment? Councillor Smith?
Thanks, folks. I'll just add a couple of things. And one is that this bunch of young people are, as they have all been, wonderful, give so much hope for a future of thoughtful, energetic, idealistic and involved young people. I think Cowra's very lucky to have them. I'll just mention two things in particular. World Peace Day is actually coming up in a couple of weeks, not a couple of months. And tomorrow evening, a number of the youth councillors will, all those who can be here, will be here to talk to young people from Takata High School in Japan, where Linda Barron is at the moment. And I certainly agree with, I'm sure everyone in this room, that Linda is a real driver of Youth Council. She's over representing us in Joetsu, and she's still working every day. I'm getting a barrage of emails about Youth Council, so she is fantastic.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Councillor Downing.
I just wanted to mention the World Peace Day as well and say that the speech competition has been changed to fostering a culture of peace in honour of our guest Craig Foster, which is similar to cultivate because we couldn't think of anything else. And that is the cultivating a culture of peace is the actual UN theme for 2024's International Day of Peace. The Peace Committee has also asked Councillor Judy Smith, who won't be a councillor at the time, to come and help facilitate, and she's agreed. So thank you for that, Judy. We have about 96 children attending compared to 20 last year. So
And the date, Councillor Downing?
is the 19th of September.
Thank you.
And Craig Foster will also be speaking at the Rotary Run dinner that night as well. So tickets are available for that too. And just wanted to say congratulations to the Breakout Youth Ambassadors. It was beautiful to see them at every ceremony and taking part in everything. I think sometimes we just get the young people to pack up chairs and put away tables and wait on tables. But this was amazing that they actually had a great feature, and they're a real credit to our town and to celebrating youth in Cowra. And it was on show for everyone to see.
Thank you, Councillor Downing. Further comments, Councillor Smith?
Yes, as a member of the 80th anniversary committee, I'd like to echo Councillor Downing's statements. I thought the youth ambassadors were exceptional. They are lovely kids. They were willing, whatever was on, they were willing to do. And you see a lot of bad press about the youth of today, but the top ones, I think, were in good hands.
Thank you. Any further comments? Councillor Wright.
Just following on from Councillor Paul Smith's comments there about the children, how good they are, the youth councillors. When I was involved, we used to select a cross-section of the community, and it wasn't always the high achievers and so forth, and we got a good representation, and I think with the encouragement that they received largely from Linda Barron and Judy, that we have got those results. And it's not, the youth council is not about picking the high achievers in the community to come on board. It's open to all people at different stages of their development. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Further comment? Right of reply, Councillor Watt.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Briefly, I think Councillor Wright is right on the money, and I was going to do this privately, but I also want to acknowledge that Councillor Peter Wright was involved as long as Judy has been and stepped down so that I could take up that role on Youth Council, and it's something that I really appreciate you doing and the role that you did in getting it to here. I think his comments are so important. The Youth Council today is what I wish Student Representative Council was like when I was young. The kids today have such comfort in being who they are and advocating for what actually matters for them as young kids. They're open talking about what's difficult being kids today, and they're open talking about what those kids want to be involved in, and it isn't always what us adults in the room expect them to say and perhaps what we would advocate for, but we're there to support them. And I think it's really fantastic, and I hope that keeps going. And it's been also, quite healing for me as well in figuring, acknowledging who you are and being okay with that and your position around body positivity and mental health positivity. And I'm really excited to see these kids keep progressing, as I mentioned, as we can see from the last 13 years worth of kids sitting there. So again, thank you very much, Judy, and thank you to the Youth Council.
Thank you, Councillor Watt. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Now we have page 174, the donation to Core Farmer Concert. Councillor Downing, Councillor Smith leave the room. And this is the council provided donation of up to $988.
So moved.
Councillor West and Councillor Kiss. Councillor West.
I think it's self-explanatory, Madam Mayor, in the report that the Core Farmer have been coming to Cowra for many, many years, I think since 1976, and they do a wonderful, wonderful job, as well as raising money for the exchange student program, which of course is very important and something we all support. But they also put on a wonderful performance for our community, and they usually go to the war cemeteries the last morning, and you have some beautiful renditions at the war cemetery, most certainly worth listening to, and their performances at the Civic Centre are most certainly worth listening to as well. So I fully commend this, councillors.
Thank you, Councillor West. Councillor Keith?
Just briefly, Madam Mayor, and I second what Councillor West has said over there, that this is exactly what I see the Civic Centre to be used for, and it's got a double bonus for us. You know, one is that it's got an amazing performance, but secondly, that it actually then goes on to benefit our SAK exchange program. It's a bonus all round.
Thank you, Councillor Keith. Any further comments? Right of reply? Not necessary. Thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you to Councillor Watt.
Can I get some more water? Would that be possible? I've drank a whole bottle.
Who dear can't afford it.
It's thirsty work. Talk less, yeah? So we're up to 5.5, the Cowra Stedford, and Councillor
Happy,
Wright has left the room.
happy to move.
Councillor West, Councillor Smith, Councillor West.
Very simple, Madam Mayor. I think that we understand how important the Stedford is to this community and what a wonderful job they do. And this is something that's been consistent, and we have provided this sort of support for them over many, many years. And I think when the new fees and charges came into being a few years ago, we did actually commit to the Stedford committee that we would look favourably upon these sorts of requests. And I think we should strongly support it and note that probably this is another one that we could include in a line item in the budget next year if the new council is ever mind to. But that's something for consideration down the track. But I strongly support this and think we should.
Thank you, Councillor West. Councillor Smith.
Yes, I support the motion. The Stedford have the Civic Centre for 3 weeks. It's one of the major users of the Civic Centre. The only concern I've got is that I really believe this donation that we're giving will not be taken from the profit of the Civic Centre. And I do have a problem. This is an ongoing conversation that we're going to have that I don't know that the business model of the Civic Centre is working, and I think in the next few years we've got new seats, so we give it another run to see how it goes. But I really do think that we've got to look very, very hard at the way we operate the Civic Centre.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Councillor Watt.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think Councillor Paul Smith has highlighted that this is something we talk about a lot as a council and are working on a lot. I want to first thank Richard and Jenny for attending and making your case. I hope I speak for my fellow councillors, and I think I do, following our work in the lead up to this year's revenue policy. But in my belief, what we need to do for the Civic Centre is make sure that it is accessible for our community and for events that contribute to our community. In part, we do that by having big ticket items like Jim Owen, which bring money into the Civic Centre, which is in mind to compensate community events such as the item we dealt with in 5.4, and to compensate events like this Cowra Stedford that bring thousands of people into Cowra, that to support Cowra's youth and the broader community's youth in developing their own talents and sharing that love for art and drama and beauty in our community. As articulated by Richard, this is one of our most significant cultural events and is the longest running in the calendar year, and is one of the longest running as well in the history of Cowra. I am very happy to support this request and really appreciate the Stedford Committee coming to us early to work through it, as obviously we'll be planning that in our budget going forward. And would also take note from Councillor Delbo and Councillor West, and actually have already made a note in my comments to have a look at whether we can put this as a line item going forward, so that we don't have to have this negotiation going back and forth, because I hope in the Civic Centre calendar it's already booked in every year.
Thank you, Councillor Watt. Any further comments? Councillor Downing.
I'd like to throw my support behind the Stedford. Obviously, everyone knows that it is a significant cultural event for our town. It brings many people to our town. I also agree with Councillor Paul Smith that somewhere on the bottom line, the Civic Centre needs to suck this up. at some stage. And I assume we are having a review of the Civic Centre and its runnings. Is that something that we're doing? Yes, I'll be very interested to go forward and have those conversations because the discounts that we've put in around this before our last budget don't seem to have made a great deal of difference to our community. And if the community can't use our facilities without us propping it up, then we need to have a big, long, hard think about how it's used.
Thank you, Councillor Downing. Any further comment? Right of reply, Councillor West. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against, carried. Councillor Wright. And we're on page 185. The release of closed decisions.
So moved.
Councillor Smith.
So moved. So moved.
Wait a minute, wait for Peter. Where is he? Okay, Councillor Smith, Councillor West. Thank you. Councillor Smith.
This is a housekeeping or procedural matter. It's regulated that when council makes a decision in closed council, they first have to justify moving into closed council, and secondly, they have to, as soon as practicable, release the contents of that resolution, and this is what is being done now.
Thank you. Councillor Bill. Any further comments about this? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against, carried. Now we have the committee minutes, traffic committee minutes on 186. Councillor Smith and Councillor Kiss. Councillor Paul Smith.
Yes, Mayor Fagan, it's a fairly straightforward. We had a request to make the entrance to Busby car park beside Coles out of Macquarie Street one way, and we decided that it's fine as it is. The show is on, so we've had to approve the traffic plan for that. We've allowed with interest that civil cars can run an A double truck from their operation round in Campbell Street. Campbell Street? Yep. That's fine. And we're going to try and make the disabled parking place in front of the breakout coffee shop more user-friendly, and actually usable is probably more the term rather than user-friendly. At the moment, it's not even usable. It's got a tree at the back of it, so if you've got something in the back, a wheelchair in the back or something, you can't open the back of your car. So unfortunately, that tree will have to go. We'll make the car park wider and we'll change where the ramp is. Yep.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Any comment? Right, Councillor Kiss, sorry.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And look, I would just like to in particular commend the Traffic Committee for their efforts with regard to the Macquarie Street disabled car parking spot. Simply making the best of a bad situation. I don't know how you're going to put one on a hill and say that it's going to be helpful for everybody. There are other options that we could consider down the track, increasing parking for disabled on the flat. That's always the potential. But if we want parking in a particular area, then we've also got to be able to work in with the conditions of the environment, unfortunately.
Thank you, Councillor Kiss. Further comments, Councillor Watt.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I've just got two questions. The first in relation to recommendation number 5 about 37 Macquarie Street at the front of the breakout. I know there was an option to swap the two parking spots, and not being on the traffic committee, that seemed like a more logical and less intensive option. I just was wondering if you could give us some background on why that option wasn't chosen.
Yeah, it's to do with getting out of the car, and depending which side of the car the disabled person gets out of. And we decided that rather than put it right at the top there, that we would move it to where it is, but make it wider, the ramp's accessible. If you have people in a disabled bus and they've got to get out the side, at the moment they get out, there's nowhere for them to get out, and that wasn't going to be solved by putting it up the top. They still had a problem there. So we looked at everything that we could think of, and we also questioned some of the people as they parked in the disabled. We asked them, how did you get on there? How did you get out of your car? And some of them said, well, we couldn't. We had to do. So it's not perfect, and I'm not suggesting for one moment it is, but when you've got a hillside, Councillor Kiss says, you know, we can put it on the flat. There's no flat there. It is what it is. We'll make the best of it. You will always, if you get out the passenger side, you'll always be getting out on a downhill slope. And there's not much we can do about that. But we will change the ramp. That's complicated. There's a stormwater pipe under where we want to put the ramp. We've got to change that. It wasn't easy, but that was the best we could come up with. And
I
we
may
have
have
consulted
not-
the
yeah.
the shopkeepers
Yeah,
there,
great. I
and
may
they're all
have then
happy.
misread. So it's going to now be next to that ramp on the Main Street side. Is that right? So are you losing a car space? Yes, right. Okay, sorry. I had misunderstood that from the report. Yeah, I think that's the best outcome to have the two rails on each side because, as Councillor Kiss would have raised, there's often buses that go there from, as you would know, from our retirement homes. And I think even though it is losing one spot in the main street, we'll get a lot of outcome in terms of people being able to access that busy spot. So that's excellent. My second question, and thanks for clarifying that because I had misunderstood it from how the report was written. My second question was an issue was raised with the Traffic Committee late last year by Cowra Tourism in relation to the safety issue at Cowra Visitor Centre and Rose Garden Cafe, where a number of, on average once a week, someone gets backed into and people just drive away because it's not very wide. Could you please provide an update with the Traffic Committee's plan forward on this?
The Traffic Committee looked at it last year, Dirk, but I can't recall what.
Through the chair, the matter's been taken out of the hands of the Traffic Committee. We've referred it to our Manager Assets and Technical Services, who's done a design of the car park there indicating the aisle width is not meeting the standards and pointing out that we needed to take some trees out and do some amendments to the curb. I think he's kept Kurt up to date with his progress, but if he hasn't, I'll make sure he will.
Will that go back to Traffic Committee for approval?
No, that's through the chair. That's relatively minor works that we can just do under the roads maintenance budgets.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Watt. Councillor Downing.
I did have a question about the painting of the chevron on the no parking zone in front of the Imperial Hotel. That's been at the Traffic Committee and it's been quite some time. I have read reports on how it's going to be painted on there. Have we got any time frame on when that is? Because it's been about 18 months since
It's been delayed as our contractor hasn't done it for us the last time that they were in town, but they were in town today.
Which was a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, and they were in town today doing some work down at the caravan park as well. So hopefully they've picked that up today, but I haven't been down there unfortunately, but I'll follow that up for you.
Thank you. Councillor Wright.
Yeah, just quickly, item 4 there, the permission for A-double access to Campbell Street from Park Street to Darby's Falls Road and Darby's Falls Road to Kendall Street via Fitzroy Street. Transport for New South Wales have got to lift their game. If they're going to accept registration from these so-called A-doubles, which are mini road trains, they need to provide local governments with enough finance to upgrade their roads to be able to, for these vehicles to access them and not have to provide, not for owners of these vehicles to approach council to get permission to take them from to a certain point to another point to get onto a major highway, and it frustrates me, and they need to take more control in providing us enough money to upgrade these roads or to maintain these roads, and not put it back on council to give permission for trucks to travel on our roads after they've paid their registration fees to operate in New South Wales. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Can you want to write? Any further comments, and you can have right of reply if that's okay. Councillor Smith. Right of reply.
The only thing on right of reply, I'll comment on Councillor Wright's thing. Luckily, the A-double doesn't do as much damage to the road as a B-double does, and they can move around. The interesting thing is that there have been, I personally believe, there have been instances of A-doubles using our roads without a permit or have a forged permit or no permit at all. And that's disturbing and unfair to all operators when someone can undercut your price because they've got a forged thing. So there's a lot of things to sort out in A doubles. But as far as the road goes, they tell me they corner better because they've got a second dolly. They corner better than what a B double does. So.
Thank you, councillor Smith. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Page 193, the Wyangla Water Treatment Plant land acquisition. Have a mover and a seconder. We note the report, the information provided. Councillor West, Councillor Judy Smith. Thank you. Councillor West.
I think there's nothing really to explain. It's an update and the report to be noted, and we're aware that there is a new water treatment plant out at Wangler, and some of the areas there was determining on who actually owned the land and getting that land transferred into the appropriate authority, including council. There's an update of where that's up to, and I'm sure that will also, in due course, the new council will get an update not only on this, but on where the inverted commas of trial and the success of the new water treatment plant itself is going to be.
Thank you, Councillor West. Councillor Judy Smith. Councillor Smith.
I'll just add to that we were originally informed that we wouldn't have to pay for the compulsory land acquisition, but it appears now that advice has changed. So that'll be something for the new council to be putting into their budget for the next financial year.
Thank you. Surely the land's not worth much out there, but underneath the water treatment plant. Is there any further comment about that? I'll put the motion. Councillor West. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Now we have the Director of Environmental Services report, page 195, Development Application 562024, and Councillor Watts leaving the room. Thank you. Somebody move this. Councillor Paul Smith, Councillor Nikki Kiss. Thank you. Councillor Smith.
Yes, this DA's come to us because there's a bit of a heritage order on the building. It's an internal change, and as it's been explained to me, which was difficult to read from the plans, those of you that know the Imperial Hotel, the door into the restaurant from the bar area will be widened by removing that section of wall. So I don't think it's of great concern to anybody, but the patrons of the hotel should make it easier to get into the restaurant. So I can't see any problem with the DA.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Councillor Kiss.
Briefly, love the fact that there's another ramp going on in an internal building. As Councillor Smith said, it's come to us only because it's a heritage building, and it does say in here that there's no foreseen negative impacts.
Thank you, Councillor Kiss. Any further comments, Councillor Downing?
I'm happy to support this and to support a business making changes inside their business to make the function of it better. But I would like to comment on the very poor plans that were very hard to read.
Thank you, Councillor Downing. Any further comments? Councillor Paul? I'll put the motion. All those in favour, hands please. Carried unanimously. If we can get Councillor Watt back, that would be great. Page 231. This is the review of Council's Code of Planning Practice, which we noted earlier on, but there's been some changes made by the Director of Environmental Services, and now it's up for adoption or to be put on public display for 30 days. So I have a mover and a seconder for that. Councillor Judy Smith, Councillor Bill West, thank you very much. Councillor Smith.
Thank you. This new draft or updated draft Code of Planning Practice has been necessary because of a number of things, including what has been mandated by the state government, to which we are, as always, subservient. We've discussed this thoroughly at previous meetings, and there have been some suggested changes that have been made, but probably the major change between this version of the planning policy and previous versions is to do with the planning portal, which has been the bane of the life of council staff and those who are applying for development applications ever since it was introduced. And so there are, whereas before people had to put in a copy of the development application to council, now it all goes through the planning portal and so on. But so they're reasonably minor adjustments, but they are important adjustments, and most importantly, we aim with this to provide transparency, accountability, timeliness, and proper consideration and processes to ensure proper consideration of all development applications. And I commend the Director and her staff for putting this to us.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Councillor West, would you like to comment?
Fully support my colleagues' commentary and agree this is a matter that was before the committee meeting. Councillors were provided with the opportunity to add some of their concerns, which I know Councillor Smith did. I'm not sure about anybody else, but I know Councillor Smith did. This document has been workshopped within council for a long time, and it's appropriate now we put it out on public exhibition for public comment. But bear in mind that also allows the council an opportunity to further comment on this when it comes back off public exhibition, should they so wish to do.
Thank you, Councillor West. Any further comments? No right of reply? Oh, no, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Page 252, we have the Access Incentive Fund application for Goolagong Historical Society. Councillor Delbo, Councillor Downing. Councillor Delbo.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As a representative for the village of Goolagong, it is my great pleasure to move this motion tonight, and to not be known just for getting the abolition block for Goolagong, but also a ramp. I have actually been out and spent time with this wonderful group of hardworking volunteers of Goolagong residents. They have an amazing history that they have compiled and have now moved out of where floodwaters can affect their what they have, and are now into a much safer area at the racecourse. They are working to in improving the old clubhouse there, and one of the things that they originally saw me on was access to the facility, and that was actually before the access scheme had an improvement made to it. So I'm so glad that they have followed this up, and thank you for those people in the room that have also made this possible. They are asking for a ramp to the value of $5,500, and I fully support it. I also note that the Access Committee also support this application. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Delbo. Councillor Downing.
This is exactly why we debated so hard in this chamber to have the $5,000 amount up to $10,000, and we dropped the obligation to match. These are the type of community facilities that we want to see people be able to access. There's still, after this 5,500, before that there's 32,000, so there's still plenty of money in that fund for people to get their projects in. And I'm just happy that this kind of project makes a difference in our shire, and it's great that one of the villages is taking advantage of it.
Thank you, Councillor Downing. Councillor Smith.
Yes, this is a very small committee at Goolagong, very committed. They are ageing. Not that I can talk, but they will have problems as time goes on with accessing the building. As I say, they are aged. They are a very small community. They work hard, and it's one of the nicer little places in Goolagong, I always feel. So I fully commend this.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Any further comments? Councillor Kiss.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd just like to say that the Access Committee was unanimous in recommending this to Council. We're very impressed at the Goolagong Committee for taking this up. And I've noted in here that it's also to make it more accessible to the public as a tourist attraction. I think that is going to be so impressive, and a beautiful little place to nestle with all of their historical society things.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Delbo, would you like any further comments, or Councillor Delbo right of reply? Okay, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried, thank you. No late reports, no notices of motion. But before we move in to close the meeting, this is the final meeting for this council term. And I'd like to acknowledge my councillor colleagues for their hard work and my Deputy Mayor Paul Smith for his assistance during this time. And at this final meeting, I'd like to acknowledge the General Manager, Paul Devery, and Directors Dirk Weimer, Larissa Hackett and Graham Apthorpe, who have been terrific supporters of this council and this term. Thank you for your professionalism and your great deal of time you've had in the chamber listening to everybody. It's been very rewarding for us all. I'm sure I speak for all of the councillors when I say that we appreciate the hard work of the council staff, and it's very important that you're so professional at all times, and that we acknowledge that. I'd also like to acknowledge the 3 retiring councillors, although they've only been here for 3 years. Councillor Delbo has only been here for 3 years. She's been a dedicated, hard-working councillor.
Not retiring,
And
just pausing.
just pausing, and her enthusiasm, commitment in particular for the art gallery and the CBD committee, and also Goolagong, and have been a great and long-lasting benefit to the Cowra community. And I thank you for your for all you've done, and wish you the best for the future and everything you do. And we'll see you back, I'm sure. Councillor Judy Smith has been already expressed in this chamber, has served council diligently since 2008, and for 10 years until 23 served as a deputy mayor. During this time, she's been an active and effective representative, particularly on the Tidy Towns Committee, and I really, really appreciate the effort you put in there, because I've been there as well, and I think you've done a great job, much more patient than I am. The Cowra Youth Council and the Reconciliation Working Party, which has been a very big passion of yours, and and I think that that's going to continue, and I'm grateful for the start that you've made on that actual committee. Thank you. And also an important voice for the Woodstock community, which I'm sure is going to miss you greatly, but as we all will. She's also played a very vital role in the Cowra-Japan relationship, and an integral figure in strengthening the relationship between Cowra and Japan. She's been a wise counsellor and a very good friend, and to many of us in the chamber. And we wish you all the best, and you'll be missed, I'm sure. Finally, we say farewell to Councillor Bill West. He's served as councillor since 1999, and as deputy mayor from 2004 to 2005, and as mayor from 2008. Until he stood down in 23. It's hard to know where to start to describe Bill's work as a councillor and a mayor. He's been a tireless advocate for Cowra and the community as well here, as well as in the wider community, as already noted. His memberships and roles over his time as councillor are far too many to list, but I especially note his work with the Japanese Garden and Cultural Centre, the Cowra Sale Yards, the Lachlan Regional Transport Committee, which was also a hard gig, and the Audit and Risk Improvement Committee. He has also worked at a tireless level for the Cowra Health Council, on the redevelopment of the hospital, and he'll be around for the opening, I'm sure, as well as his commitment and hard work in relation to water security and the Cowra-Japanese relationship. In the chamber and within council, Bill's guidance and wisdom has been immeasurable, and he's always willing to take a phone call, and he's always willing to listen and give wise advice. So I'd just like to say thank you for that. And I wish Judy and Bill every happiness for their future, and a contented and well-deserved retirement. And I know you're not going to stand on your laurels, and you've got lots of adventures planned, both of you. So thank you very much. We can clap.
Madam Mayor, could I seek your indulgence and the council's indulgence, just make a couple of comments. I think these moments you feel like someone's going to walk and tap you on the shoulder and call you an imposter or something. When you start using some of those kind remarks, you think that who are they talking about? This journey started, as you alluded to, 1999, 25 years ago, and it's been a wonderful journey. I don't intend to wax lyrical about too much at this occasion, but I do thank you genuinely for your comments. I would acknowledge both Councillor Delbo's contribution for 3 years and wish her all the best as she moves forward in the next iteration of her endeavours in local government. But I would firmly acknowledge all your comments about Councillor Smith, who's been a great deputy mayor and a great friend. And I really appreciate that support and the friendship and the guidance. And occasionally I've made mistakes, and yeah, we all make mistakes, and I've been politely and quietly wrapped across the knuckles, and we moved on. So for that, Judy, I say thank you, and I wish you and Sandy all the best as you move forward. To my colleagues in the chamber tonight, I thank you for your support. It's been a great 2-3 years, but I'd also acknowledge all the previous councillors that I've worked with over a fairly long period of time now, and the support that they provided me personally, but also the support they've provided for this council. And I think many good decisions, and some of them have been reflected upon tonight, that this council has made in terms of driving forward a future and some sort of planning for the way our community can look like in 3, 4, 5, 10, 15 years' time. And that's what we're thinking about. It's not necessarily about this council or this term, it's about the ship that we can steer into the future and being mindful of what's gone before us. And I think there's a real opportunity for the next council. I'm sure you'll grasp with both hands and look after this community. So those of you who have been elected, congratulations and good luck. I think I've been around to any of you privately, but congratulations and good luck. And I do sincerely wish you all the best. I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge the General Manager and senior staff for the work they've done. Incredible amount of work goes on behind the scenes, which I've been privy to see. And not only for the work they do on behalf of the council, but the support they provided to me personally in the way they've had an open door policy. I'm sure that the General Manager's now got a feather duster to give me at some stage, and my phone number's been deleted from his contacts, I'm sure. But I do sincerely thank you. But it is about a team approach, and this council has been very good, as previous councils have been having a team approach. We don't always agree, but we do so respectfully. I think that's so very important in representing our community, and I think our community is entitled to kind of expect that. So I believe people say, what are you going to do? Well, I'm going to probably find other things to do in the journey of my life, and life's a journey, and I've had a wonderful, wonderful journey. I've met some fabulous people, some great memories, which are mine. I don't delude myself into being part of decisions that I was successful at, because it's a team approach, and we're all part and parcel of that. Just the same, if something goes wrong, we all cop the blame, no matter if anybody was or wasn't responsible for it. So moving forward, a bit of farming, a bit of looking after grandkids and teaching them bad habits, as all grandparents should do, and maybe a little bit of travel and finding nice people to sit back and enjoy a cup of coffee or a glass of wine with occasionally, and maybe I can find a few volunteers, or a volunteer in particular, to be with me. So thank you, and I wish you all the very best in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor West. Councillor Smith.
I'm sure everyone's looking forward to a bite to eat, so I'll try and be brief. Firstly, my thanks to the General Manager and all the senior staff, both acting and real. You have made our job so easy with your hard work and your professionalism, and I have really appreciated your honesty, integrity and diligence. I'll make only one personal comment, and that is about Director Weimer's socks. I usually sit where I can see them, and they provide me with food for thought and amusement in any dull moment in the chamber. I'd also like to thank all my fellow councillors, both past and present. I think being on council was probably one of the best decisions I've ever made. I'm applying to be on council, probably even including getting married and having children. I've been really lucky to have worked with a lot of dedicated people who have got on council for the right reasons, and we all make mistakes, we all have differing opinions, but 99 times out of 100 we're able to pass by those differing opinions, go out and have a drink and a chat, and I consider you have all enriched my life. So thank you very much. I'll just simply say that in a very exciting and emotional week, today we got information that we may be selling the property. So,
excellent. Wow. Okay, Councillor Delvo.
I'll just finish if that's okay. I just obviously echo the words that Councillor Judy Smith has said tonight with all the people that she has thanked, and I just want to say ditto with that. The two that I would like to go forward with is obviously thank you to all the people who voted me into council. I wasn't a known factor. Thank goodness the Delbo name isn't tarnished. And I think at times that is what got me across. People who knew my parents and my sister and other family members voted for that, and so for that I thank them, and for trusting me and giving me a go. But I'd like to finish with thanking my family. It's really hard to be a councillor when you have a young family, and I take my hat off to those around the table tonight that are continuing on in that space. It came to a point where I just couldn't be across everything, and I'm a person that, as it was pointed out to me, I'm either gear 1 or gear 5, and there's nothing in between. So I just want to thank my dear husband on record, and my children, my stepchildren, Jessica, Shelby, Delaney, and my son Sam, for allowing me to do this, because there's many times that I have missed events because I have been elsewhere or I've been reading papers. So I just want to thank them for their patience around that. And then to my family, the Delbos, I didn't anticipate that we would experience such loss during my term, with the loss of my mum. And it's been a difficult road, and I think it's time now that I need to go and support my family through that journey. I certainly didn't anticipate my husband getting cancer so shortly after that, so there's many family reasons why I'm not re-standing, and I know there's been a lot of talk around town about why I'm not standing, but as it has been said to me, and for once in my life I am listening to people, that I do need to put my family first for the next term of council, and that is the decision that I've made. So wholeheartedly thank you to my family for allowing me to do this. Cheers.
Thank you, Councillor Delbo. And any further comments or? Oh, good. Okay, so I'll now take a motion to close the meeting to the public to consider the following confidential reports. So any members of the public after the motion? So this is to consider 10.1, the demolition disposal of council-owned building at 10 Low Lane. This matter is to be considered to be confidential under Section 10A 2C of the Local Government Act, and the council is satisfied that discussion of this matter in an open meeting would on balance be contrary to the public interest, as it deals with information that would, if disclosed, confer a commercial advantage on a person with whom the council is conducting or proposes to conduct business. And 10.2, safe and secure water program, Cowra water treatment works. This matter is considered to be confidential under Section 10A2D2 of the Local Government Act, and the council is satisfied that discussion of this matter in an open meeting would, on balance, be contrary to the public interest, as it deals with information that would, if disclosed, confer a commercial advantage on a competitor of the council. And a late report 7.1, Appeal New South Wales Land and Environment Court DA 37 2022, refusal subdivision and multi-dwelling house on 13 Tokyo Terrace, Cowra. This matter is considered to be confidential under Section 10A2G, advice concerning litigation or advice as comprises a discussion of this matter that would otherwise be privileged from production in legal proceedings on the ground of legal professional privilege. I declare the meeting has concluded. Ani Bermuda, Nikki, Councillor Kiss and Councillor Watt. Thank you. All in favour? Aye. Thank you.